Hi, this is TechCat Todd, and I wanted to do a quick walkthrough of how to use remote desktop on an Apple Mac. Remote desktop gives your client here, the Mac is the client, the access to remotely log into a machine and give you full functionality of using that machine. That machine can be configured exactly the way we want. That's what kind of TechCats does, and it will have the software that maybe you can't even run on a Mac because this is going to remote into a Windows server in this example. But I really just wanted to apprise you about how to get going with remote desktop on a Mac. Other tutorials or your class will kind of guide you on how to use the specific applications and what to do, but this is just kind of doing things here on a Mac. And these are notes that I have to keep me on track. The first thing you'll need to do on a Mac is remote desktop isn't built in, so go down to the App Store and wake that up, come here, and then search for remote desktop. Maybe even press enter. Some things came in, and get the latest version, but get the Microsoft Remote Desktop. There's lots of products that do this kind of thing, and some better, but this is free. I'd get the latest one and do it. I'd already gotten it, so this one before, so let's see how that goes. But then you do get, and then I uninstalled it just to see if it would install, and so now it's doing its thing here. Hope it doesn't take too long to do. I am running this in a little virtualized environment. I might just take a pause till there's kind of this is done downloading. Just a sec. All right, I'm back. I'm actually virtualizing this Mac. That's what all these things are, but you do get. But then you can kind of click open to get it started the first time. It's now one of your apps. We'll see about how to get it going other times. But this is I'm going to get rid of it because delete. I've been practicing. But this will be kind of your first time in. So there's this app, remote desktop, and let's see. So you want to work with desktops, and the first thing we want to do is add a desktop. Okay, and here's where, kind of going back to our notes, the things you need to establish a basic connection to a remote desktop is the name of the computer, the DNS name, the domain name system name, and the one I'm connecting to now for the example is vm1.techcatsolutions. You might connect to a different one, and you might have multiple ones, so you're not always going to connect to that one. So far TechCats has 2 VMs, but might have more. You're going to have a login ID and a password, just as normal for any computer. All right, so I'll talk to you later about how do I figure out what those things are for me. But just once you have them, go up in here into PC name and solutions is the name. Sometimes, and I should say this a little bit, sometimes these DNS names are appended with a colon and a port number. For remote desktop, it turns out port 3389 is the default, and those are the ports that TechCats uses, so you won't need to add it since it's the default. But sometimes if you look at and somebody says, it's got this colon and something besides 3389, then make that part of the name that you put in there, because they've then configured that server to be looking for things on another port. What I'd recommend is, rather than ask every time and having to put this login, if you'd like to add a user account, and what this will do is remember this credential. All right. And I'd already done it one, but I'll call it VM1 login. And so what that did was remember that credential, And so when I come in the next time, it'll remember it, so I won't need to put it in every time. Okay, and you can decide whether on your computer. Well, I personally like to put it in every time. If somebody got my computer, then they would be able to do. But on the other hand, this is nice. Notice I clicked over on display. Notice this says start session in full screen, and I'd recommend you do that. There's some other things. You can identify folders you'd like to want to access during the remote session. I'm not going to worry about any of that right now. I'm just going to leave it at defaults and click add. And then what I have here is it remembered all those settings, and when I come in next time, this guy will be here, so I don't need to go that again. But then you started up the remote desktop app. If I double click on this, it's doing a connecting. Now when you first connect, every time it's going to say, something about the certificate couldn't be verified. Don't worry about this. I actually even talked to Microsoft, and they said it's good to show people that, to realize they're connecting to a resource. The remote desktop can't do anything back kind of to you. There's really no kind of danger here, and I think getting rid of this would be, it's just a hard thing. So that's going to pop up, and just click continue, and it's doing some things, and after a little bit, notice it just then popped into, and it's like you're on a whole different computer here. So what's kind of gone on here is, and this is going to be a little bit tricksome because I'm going to here pop out. I've got an application here on my Mac that is running this remote desktop, and you can window it. Okay, and remember we asked it to pop in there in full screen to begin with, but what's happened is this is connecting to that other computer, giving us access to, and this is the idea. There are a lot of components, software installed. Some things that actually won't run on a Mac, like Access and Project and Visio, plus even those things that would run on a Mac. These are configured exactly the way they need to be, or providing you some software that you need for your course. So that's kind of the main idea of a remote desktop. I'm going to go ahead and use this to put it back to where it's full screen. Again, if you hover up near the top, then you get your menu back. I'm getting two menus because of the way I've remoted in, but you can get that remote desktop and you can minimize it, or if you get that remote desktop, you can exit out. Okay, but let's talk about using remote desktop. So even though I'm on a Mac, it looks now like I'm on it happens to be a Windows server, and to use I'm going to delete that. That was some practice from before. To use an application, double click on it. I'm just doing Word, not it's the most amazing thing, in a blank document. And this is my RDP demo. Presumably what you're doing is you're doing something that's important for class. When you go to save your files, so I'm going to do File Save. I could do Save As. And if I do this PC, double click. Notice that on this PC I have a Documents folder, I have a Downloads folder, I have a Desktop. So just and I don't like things with spaces in them. Just remember where you're saving this. So that's in Documents. If you like to see things on your desktop, you can save things in your desktop. Remember, it's RDP demo. So I save that, and I'm back in here. If I minimize this, there's that RDP demo. It's showing on my desktop. And another thing to realize is you can always get and look at your desktop folders that way. You can open up this PC and say, okay, show me my desktop, if you need to do something with that particular file. I'm going to exit out of the Word now because I wanted to get back to my agenda and make sure. Come on. There it is. I'm on track. So we talked about creating a file, saving a file on the remote desktop, and thinking about your file locations. Sometimes you use a file. Sometimes you say, gosh, I would like a copy of that file. I need to bring it down maybe to my Mac because I'm going to upload it to a course management system, or I just don't trust the remote desktop and I want a copy of that because it's an assignment to turn in, and that kind of thing. And so you can always, I'm going to just now, yeah, I'll maximize it. Well, I don't need to maximize it. I'll show you how you can do this. You can go in to the remote desktop. I've right-clicked on this. I've copied. If you come down here to say your desktop and do paste item, now if I, did I hear a bong? I thought that would work. Let me minimize some things. Nope, it came down, I think. Let me get rid of that. Just be sure that wasn't, put that in trash. And so, copy, paste item. And so that's how you get now you've got a copy of this. Now if you make a change here on the remote desktop, it's not going to change it here. And if you make a change here, it's not going to change there. That's just two separate copies. You can do that in reverse. I'm just going to rename that as copy 1. I don't know if drag and drop works. We could try. No, I think we have to right click and copy, and then go here, and now I've got, so you can copy files back and forth if you need to. Okay, so that's handy if you just want your own copy or you're thinking about needing to get it up into a learning management system. Another thing, and I'm going to get back into the remote desktop maximized, is if you need to turn something into, say, like a D2L, a learning management system at Augusta University, we call ours D2L, or it's called Brightspace. Realize that your remote desktop has a web browser. And you can go to LMS, it's LMS Augusta Edu at Augusta, and log in. I'm not going to do the whole rigmarole, but you can log in from the remote desktop and then upload the file from the remote desktop, whether you've saved it on your desktop or you saved it in documents. So you can always turn it into your course management system or upload it just right from the kind of from the remote desktop. You can also, if you need to turn it in or something like that, is now that you have a copy here on your Mac, you can get in, use Safari, whatever browser, and then you can upload this copy if you need to turn it into a course management system. But realize you can kind of work, and actually the internet connection you're going to find in the remote desktop will probably be quicker than the one you'll have on your Mac, because this is running in a Microsoft data center. All our VMs are going to be in San Antonio, our TechHat Solutions. Though what I'm saying about remote desktop works in general so far, as long as you have a DNS name and some of that. All right, let's kind of talk about what to do when you're done. So I've got through this. Let me go here. Let me just maximize it so it's less confusing. I'm going to get back into Word. Well, maybe I'll get back into this document. Okay, and I am still working. Blah blah blah. Okay. If you That's interesting. Okay, that's right. I need to look at this here. Yeah, if you just happen to quit while you're working on something here, I'm trying to get the menu. Don't do this on the Mac all the time. Connections, Microsoft. Yeah, if you were to quit Microsoft Desktop now, it would leave this session intact for about an hour. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I were to do Microsoft and quit, all right, it's kind of gone away, and I was in the middle of editing that document. If I wake this up, reconnect, just say continue, it's remembered my credential. but it's going to pop me right back where I was. Okay, and that's because you disconnected and didn't sign off, and that's a good thing. I've set up the server so you have about an hour before, if you disconnected, it's going to close you out. So one thing, if you are going to disconnect, you need to leave for a little bit. You've lost your internet connection. You can always get back in and do, but make sure before you disconnect that you save what you're working on, just in case it takes you more than an hour to get back. You can actually go to a whole nother computer and remote in, and you'll be right here, but I leave that there for an hour. Another way to disconnect is to use the menu in the server. If you kind of click the start button down here and then go to power, you can disconnect that way. Okay, that didn't close your remote desktop application, but that did close this connection. You can just double click and continue. I don't know on a Mac if there's a way you can, yeah, okay, here's, you can get rid of this. So I said show certificate, and if you just say always trust this certificate, then the next time it won't put that in. Now it wants, this is the password for the Mac. It's just saying, okay, you made kind of a system change. Yeah, I'm going to remember that you said this, but I needed my Mac password. That wasn't my remote desktop password. So I'm right back where I was, disconnected, reconnected. One thing, if you're kind of done for a while, so disconnecting leaves your session open. It uses some server resources. If you didn't save anything, after an hour it goes away. If you're going to leave for a while, I recommend instead, or it's a little signing off. Okay, so here, if I do click the little silhouette and you sign out, what that does is log off, and that closes any sessions. It also frees up the resources on the server, and yeah, that's just easier on me. That's what's going to happen in an hour anyway, but you can always double click here, and notice now it's not going to ask me for anything because I said, trust this certificate. But in this case, since I signed off, I logged off, it didn't reinstate a session. It actually brought me back to this is a fresh session. Okay, so that's a little bit about it's uploading the file, disconnecting. If you do disconnect, save your files. So we saw how to reestablish this. Oh, by the way, if after a while remote desktop quit, probably put this out on your taskbar, but if you kind of can't find it, you can always do Launchpad and look for it there, or search for Microsoft Remote Desktop to find it that way. All right, and so great. So that's kind of the basics. It's just now another application. And we talked there about saving the remote desktop credentials. It offers you that when you come in, and then if you click on looking at that certificate, you can click that button anyway to find to say, oh, don't even bother me about this certificate every time I come in. All right, just a little bit, if you do have a TechHats subscription, the way you find your credentials after you've established a subscription is if you go, get a web browser going and go to TechHats Solutions, and you really want Access, but you can go to Home. But what we really want is this page called Access. All right, and what you can do then is it's a little roundabout, but is put in the email that you registered your subscription with, and say email my subscription activation. And even if you've activated already, then this will send you just a duplicate of that email. I'm really working on well, it's a Surface, so I'll show you what this looks like. What you do is should get Sorry about all this personal stuff. Should get, now let me kind of go check. Did I put in the right? Nope. Wrong thing. Sorry for this goofing around. I got about 3 things going on. T. Schultz at Augusta AG. Try clicking that again. There it is. I might not have clicked this. Now, wait till you get this message. An email has been sent to this, and look for, when you get those emails, it'll come from tech support at TechCat Solutions, so maybe check your junk or spam folders. I don't think I clicked that in the first place. There it is. And what you get in there is a URL with that has kind of your activation code. This kind of lets, this is personal to you, so kind of don't give it out, but when you get, and if you paste that and go, that particular thing with your activation code, don't worry about this not secure. It's not HTTPS, but I wouldn't worry about it. What you get down here is it tells you your remote DNS. Okay, this says you can use it with the :3389 or VM1 TechCat Solutions, and it also has then your login ID. Sometimes the login ID is prepended with the name of the computer or domain, but you saw me log in as T. Schultz with VM1, and maybe your first time in, or if you forgot your now I've shown you my password, but I'll go change it before you see this. You can use this to reset that password to something else. It takes a couple of seconds because it's kind of got to go reach out to the server. So that has now updated your password to this or whatever you put in. Okay, you need 6 characters for an RDP password, and so then if you were to log in, that's your new one to work with. And one last little bit, it's not that handy. I've kind of showed you how to use remote desktop. I do have this sort of a quick way. If you click on this, you get a download, and what that is a download of thought that would open it up. Now let's try this one more time. And I'm not a Mac expert, but I could also then drop that download onto Microsoft Desktop. And what that did was, in that download, it has the name of the server and the login. And so that's a way to kind of just not have to set up your own like we did before. This one, it doesn't have your password in there, but it's called an RDP connection, and it's just another way to connect in. And so that's, whether that's a better or easier, but sometimes you can just do that and you don't. And the reason that works is because you've now installed this application. Notice it didn't save it. This is the one that was before. I think I'd do it the other way, but that's a way to get kind of a quick and dirty. Maybe you went to another computer and you forgot some of the steps. Just bring that. All right. So I think I have pretty much covered my agenda here. Let me check. Using the desktop. So happy hunting. And of course, if you have any issues that come up, go to TechCat Solutions contact and fill out a message. Kind of let us know. Maybe we can help you with other remote desktops, but certainly we can help you with TechCat Solutions desktops. All right, so till next time, ta-ta.